They canter, gallop, jump and trot, but there are no real horses involved.
I mean, you just need a stick. I mean, the horse head is optional.
And if you thought we had enough games involving a ball and a net, think again.
Major League Pickleball has landed in New Zealand.
Kia ora, I'm Davina Zimmer, and on The Detail today, hobby horsing and pickleball, two unconventional sports on the rise in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
I'd like to say somewhere between sort of 50 to 70,000 people are probably picking a paddle up across a year.
I mean, it is building, which is bizarre.
Neither are your standard after-school activity, and you probably won't find them streamed on Sky Sport either, so what's the draw? How does one get into galloping astride a stick with a horse head on it, or whacking a wiffle ball across a court?
You could have a 10-year-old, their parent and their grandparent all going onto court, and you can have a competitive fun game where everybody feels like they're having fun. There aren't many sports that are intergenerational, which is what I really love about it too.
That's Ange Brady from the New Zealand Pickleball Association. We'll hear more from her later, but first out of the gate today, hobby horsing.
This is New Zealand's premier hobby horsing event, starting out here in Wanganui through RNZ Hobby Horsing. It's just a good sunny day to get a little bit horsey.
Founded in Finland as a way to ride out the long winter months, hobby horsing is an activity that at first glance may raise some eyebrows.
We were the biggest skeptics. The couple of hours before we started, we were just like, what the hell are we doing? This is ridiculous. But then, you just see the crowd and the people that get involved, and it's like, skeptics be damned, eh? People have a really good time, and a lot of people have a good laugh.
Hobby horsing involves all the typical elements of a horse riding competition, except instead of a real horse, the rider trots and gallops and canters around a course with a horse head on a stick. It all began in Finland in the early 2000s, mainly as a creative outlet dominated by pre-teen girls. Oscar-nominated Finnish filmmaker Selma Vilhunen is widely credited to have brought the sport into the mainstream with her 2017 film Hobby Horse Revolution. And while it sounds like a bizarre game of childhood make-believe, hobby horsing is taken incredibly seriously in some parts of the world. The horses are often handmade, with the goal of making them look as realistic as possible. Many riders will train for different events like dressage, show jumping and western riding, and they'll also compete in competitions, the biggest being the annual Hobby Horse Championships of Finland. Riders often share their hobby online, some gaining tens of thousands of followers.
So I'm the top hobby horse YouTuber in the nation. I just thought a couple people would know me. When I got there, I was like, whoa. Everyone knew my name. I was signing people's sticks and everything and getting pictures with them.
Here in New Zealand, Alistair Goodwin, who co-founded Hobby Horsing NZ in Whanganui with his mate Tony, says things are slightly more laid back.
We're just trying to promote it as a concept, and if people want to run with it and do the kind of high-end level of it, then that's good for them.
I definitely think it's because I've never gotten to own a real horse in my life. And so being able to have a bunch of hobby horses, because I get to take care of them, I get to ride them, name them, to take them to competitions, is like I kind of, in some way, have a horse of my own.
Is it the sport for people who can't afford a horse?
I think it's a sport for anybody, really. I mean, obviously, it is for people that can't afford a horse. And I think originally that was its sort of thing that got it popular in Finland because it's too cold outside for people to do horse stuff. But yeah, I think it's more just a bit of fun the way that we do it anyway. I don't think we don't necessarily run a conventional hobby horsing event. We've, set up some jumps that we got sponsored to get made. And it's just sort of a timed event. And again, you sort of get penalties like you would in show jumping if you knock over one of the poles. And the other part of it is dressage, it's like the fancy horse walking. I think in traditional hobby horsing, you have a specific set of moves you're supposed to hit. But we do what's called freestyle dressage, which is just letting people do whatever they want in a kind of horsey dance-based medium. And then we also run a steeplechase.
A what chase?
A steeplechase. So it's just a race where you have to be doing the horse move. You've always got to be looking like you're on a horse.
Right.
You can't fall off the horse and you've got to kind of clop around. If you take the stick out from between your legs, you've fallen off the horse, technically.
It is really hard. you have to really pick your legs up, so it's kind of like hurdling.
It's harder than it looks.
She jumped 4'1", and you should have seen, like, it's almost as high as she is.
Who's taking part in this?
We usually do like youth under 13s in the mornings generally, and that's anybody, you know, from really young kids through to your 13-year-olds, and then in the afternoon we do the adults, which is so the sort of over 13 or over 14 sort of age groups. So yeah, it's a wide, it's men, it's women, it's the young, it's the old.
And if you had to guess, how many people would be taking part in this in New Zealand?
Oh, well, I mean, it's difficult because we get a lot of emails from people setting up things around the place. And I know there's another organisation over in Hawke's Bay that does it. So, I mean, it is building, which is bizarre. But it's not up to the finish level. I mean, I think Finland has 100,000 hobby horses.
Wow. Is it a serious sport or is it just a bit of a laugh?
I think it's both. I think you can take it as seriously as you want to. Like when people come, some people do exhibit the very serious style of dressage that you'd see, like what the Finns do. And then you get other people who are a little bit more loose with it. And that's always quite funny as well. But I mean, it's on the build, I'd say. Like I'm hearing it's happening at festivals. I think if me and Tony were 10 years younger, we'd have gone on a national tour with it.
And so what do you, in competitions, what do you score points on?
So in the show jumping, it's just scored on time and faults, or like the amount of mistakes you make. And then in the freestyle dressage, it's just generally scored on sort of the little things of doing the kind of bow at the start of things. Are you, maintaining an air of horsiness? Is the crowd liking it? Was it a good song choice? You know, there's a lot of different sort of variables.
You said an air of horsiness.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between walking around the green with a horse stick between your legs or people believing you're on a horse, you know? I think that level of believability has to be judged. Because some people just take the stick out between their legs and start rocking around the place. And that's, you know, to us, that's not quite what we're after.
It's quite a cheap sport, isn't it, if you want it to be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you just need a stick. I mean, the horse head is optional.
It doesn't really look much like hobby horsing, though, I guess, if you've just got a stick.
Yeah, I know, but imagination's a powerful thing.
So is imagination a big part of it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I mean, you know, like I said, me and Tony were pretty skeptical about it until we watched people in the crowd, and people get into it and they really do kind of believe that all the horses have got names, and, you know, there is some of them as well are like the hobby horses, they make them themselves and they're very nice.
What does the training look like to prepare for such an event?
Well, you got to practice your jumping. Like clearing an Olympic size hurdle is not easy.
How high is that?
It's just over 1 meter.
Right.
Also, you'd have to learn how to do the trot, and, you know, because there's probably about 3 different ways that you can trot on a hobby horse. You know, you've got trotting, you've got cantering, you've got sort of a gallop, and these things, you know, do require some level of practice to do it properly. But I mean, we don't generally mind if people just try their best, but there is definitely a difference in the quality of what people do if they are doing the toe to heel clop rather than just a little kind of run around. Like some of the kids in Wanganui will show up like they're about to ride a horse with a helmet and jodhpurs and all this sort of stuff, and they know how to do it all. Like they're doing it proper. And then other kids just, you know, show up dressed like a fairy and run around in a circle for a bit.
People are encouraged to ride their own hobby horse, but Alistair says they do have a stable of mares and stallions for those who need one.
One of them we've got about 100 years old. It's really bad because it's super long and you can't do any jumps or anything on it, but it's pretty funny to try.
Yeah, well, that was actually a thing that I just thought of. Are there rules in the competition of the dimensions of your hobby horse? I mean, obviously you could have a really short stick and that would make it easier to get over the jumps versus a long stick.
Oh, as long as it goes through your legs, that's all we're too fussed about. But I mean, I imagine in Finland there's probably some sort of regulation
Regulation is a bit of an understatement. The Finnish Hobby Horse Association has 4 different rulebooks, each at least 10 pages long, detailing all the guidelines around the different event categories. Some general rules are as follows. When competing, hobby horses must wear a bridle. All decorative tack is prohibited, and ear bonnets and leg wraps are allowed as long as they're fitted properly and don't interfere with the judging. In show jumping, riders can be eliminated if they fall off a horse. That's when the stick slips from between the legs completely, or if the horse refuses to clear a jump. But, like Alistair says, the attitude towards hobby horsing isn't quite as serious here. It's primarily an opportunity to bring people together for a bit of fun, entertainment, and community.
We actually had a really positive thing a couple of years ago when a mother, her son was a stand-up comedian and he passed away. And she asked whether or not she could sponsor one of the events with a silver cup. So we now have a Damien Loader Memorial Steeplechase Cup, and it's a massive silver cup that we give out for the show jumping. She just thought that her son would have absolutely loved it and wanted to memorialise him through hobby horsing.
So, onto pickleball.
New Zealand's first professional pickleball teams, the Southern Stars and New Zealand Hustle, will compete for a share of 700,000 Australian dollars.
Generally, people are pretty competitive and they want to get better. Everybody always wants to get better. And then before you know it, you might be representing New Zealand.
At the next Olympics, right?
At the Olympics, that's it.
By now, it's an international sport, with talks of it being included at a future Olympics. But according to Ange Brady, who's the Hawke's Bay representative on the board of the New Zealand Pickleball Association, the game has humble beginnings.
3 dads were at home with their kids during winter, and the kids were bored and the dads were getting a bit frustrated. So they thought, right, let's see what we can find. And they made the game of pickleball up.
And so let's go back to the very basics. What is pickleball?
It's a paddle sport which is played on a smaller sized tennis court with a lowered tennis net. And it combines elements of tennis, badminton, table tennis. It's played with composite bats or paddles as we call them. Once upon a time they were wood right back in the beginning. Now we're lucky to have some amazing technology which gives them a honeycomb inside and then a plastic outer face with a plastic wiffle ball with holes in it.
Plastic whittle ball?
Wiffle. They
ball.
call them a wiffle ball. Yeah, anything that's a plastic ball with holes in it becomes a wiffle ball, but we call them pickleballs, obviously.
There are a couple different takes as to how the game got its unique name, none of which have anything to do with actual pickles. Some say the game reminded one of the creators' wives of a pickle boat, which is a mishmash of leftover rowers from other teams in rowing competitions. Then there's the theory that the game is named after the family dog Pickles, who would chase after the ball and run away with it. Name origins aside, it's a game designed to include the whole family, from grandchild to grandparent.
Generally, it's played in doubles, although you can play singles. So you've got 2 people on each side of the net. You can only score a point off your serve, similar to tennis. So the first person would start and they serve, and if the serving team loses that point, then the second person in the team serves. And then if the serving team loses that point, then the ball goes across to the other side of the net, which gives the opposition a chance to score some points. And if the winning team wins a point, they swap sides. So if I'm on the right-hand side and I'm serving and we win the point, I would swap to the left-hand side and then I would serve again. And then if we win that point, we keep swapping backwards and forwards. It's a little bit confusing because it's a game that's really easy to learn, but it's actually hard to master. Once you get to a certain competitive level, it becomes about placement and moving your opponents around. And so there's lots of tactics.
Lots of tactics, lots of rules, and lots of unique names. The 2 metres either side of the net is called the kitchen.
So you can't actually volley in the kitchen. Traditional tennis players would be used to being up at the net where you can just volley, but we actually have to be 7 feet off the net.
Then there are dinks and bounces and volleys.
So a volley is a ball that's hit out of the air, so it doesn't bounce before you hit it.
Okay.
And when I say dinking, that's the short game that happens just up at the net where you're doing smaller hits, just getting the ball over the net. and then waiting for that opportunity for, say, your opposition pops the ball up, and then you can put that ball away.
Dunk it down, kind of, like just hit it back over. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the draw of it?
The draw. So for lots of people, it's accessible. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars buying equipment because if you just want to get started, paddles are available at most of the playing venues around the country. It's relatively easy to pick it up. If you don't have any racket sports experience, you're not completely floundering. You've got a lot to learn, but then lots of people are coming across, say, from badminton and squash and tennis, and they have all the skills. They've got muscle memory from hitting shots thousands and thousands of times. So it becomes really competitive and so much fun. Like people talk about the noise of pickleballs. I actually think more of the noise comes from the players just having fun and hitting the ball, and that's what it is. It's low impact on your body because you're playing doubles generally on a badminton size court, so you don't have to get around a whole tennis court. And often it's played indoors too, so wooden floors are easier on people's bodies. And it's fun and social. And there aren't many sports where you could have a 10-year-old, their parent, a 40-year-old, and their grandparent, a 70-year-old, all going onto court. And you can have a competitive, fun game where everybody feels like they're having fun. There aren't many sports that are intergenerational, which is what I really love about it too, because we have an amazing pickleball community around New Zealand, and they range from 5-year-olds right through to 90-year-olds, which is just amazing.
While pickleball has been around since the mid-60s, the game only started being played here about a decade ago.
The first place it was played was in Rotorua. Some people went over to the States and they played it there, and then they came back to New Zealand and they were like, hey, we want to start playing this. So it started at the Rotorua Badminton Hall, and then some people here in Hawke's Bay also had been over in the States and played it, and then they came back, and then we started playing at some old netball courts, so in an outdoor surface, and it's just grown from there. There's been tournaments all over the country, and the sport's just growing. We do run into a little bit of a hurdle because if we're playing indoors, often we're in multi-sport centres. So, obviously we're fighting with basketball and badminton and other sports around getting court availability. But I think that's just been the growth side of things. As more people are seeing that pickleball is great for your body, it's great for your mental health, it's great for everybody who plays it, and that's how it's growing.
Yeah, you've got clubs in places like Nelson, Tauranga, even all the way down in Invercargill. How many people do you reckon roughly are playing pickleball in New Zealand?
Oh, if I had to guess, I'd like to say somewhere between sort of 50 to 70,000 people are probably picking a paddle up across a year. We had a team go across to the Pickleball World Cup last year in Peru, and our live streams were viewed over 70,000 times. So across 5 days, we had 70,000 views. So that's sort of what I base my numbers off.
While its origins lie in a bit of afternoon entertainment, pickleball is no longer just fun and games. Both America and Australia have professional league teams, and there's an annual World Cup competition.
We took an open team and a 50-plus team across to the World Cup last year, and the open team got into the quarterfinals, got knocked out by the States, unfortunately, and then the 50-plus team came second in the world out of 22 countries.
Wow.
The Pickleball World Cup in 2025 is actually being held in Florida this year. So we've got an open team heading over there end of October to represent New Zealand again.
And talk to me a little bit about these competitors. Is this a full-time gig for them?
For most of them, they've got a real job as well as professional pickleball. Lots of the players can get sponsorship from the paddle manufacturers. That's helping them because that provides the gear, so then they don't have to buy paddles. There are some people in the States who can live off pickleball and the winnings that they get from tournaments. But yeah, I think most people are still adulting as well as playing pickleball.
So that means how many hours do you have to dedicate during the week if you're training for an international event?
Yeah, that's a really important part of it. Most of the professional players will say that they drill as much as they play. So it's just practicing, getting a drilling partner or getting a coach and just practicing that one shot where you can hit it 1,000 times in an hour. So drilling's important, gym work's important, nutrition's important, all of those things that any elite athlete does. We're going to get the group together for a couple of training camps because obviously they're spread all around the country.
And there's talk of it becoming an Olympic sport one day.
Yes, there are currently 2 governing bodies for pickleball across the world. So once those 2 governing bodies could actually get together and just make one, we need to have one governing body for the sport and a bit of consistency of what that looks like around the world, because you obviously need to have criteria that you would meet across all of the countries in order to select a team and then what that might look like. So that's a piece of work that'll happen at a governance level.
What's the funding like for a sport like this?
We're pretty light on the funding. We're working hard to get sponsorship. We are luckily enough to have an ongoing partnership with Somerset Retirement Villages. They sponsored the NZ Open last year, and again, they're doing it this year for us. So we are incredibly grateful that they're on board. We've got some other partnerships that we've got with pickleball gear providers and then also court resurfacing. So it's pretty light. A big sponsorship would be an important driver for us.
That's all for the week. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. This episode was produced by Gwen McClure and Amanda Gillies and engineered by Phil Benj. I'm Davina Zimmer. Ka kite.